2026 SEC football win totals are out. You may be surprised by some of the high totals, and it's time to get the squad together.
You're talking ball with the SEC squad. From Alabama to Tennessee, from Georgia to Oklahoma, from Auburn to Texas, it's the local experts of the Locked On Podcast Network bringing you scoops, breakdowns, and the most comprehensive preview of the upcoming SEC weekend. It's the SEC squad, and we have a seat for you. Hurt feelings and thin skins are prohibited. Squad up, you're part of the SEC squad.
What's up, everybody? Welcome into the SEC squad. Sit back, grab your favorite beverage, and join us as we get you ready for another week talking all things SEC. Hopefully, by the time you're listening to this, your bracket's not already busted. Mine probably is. Let's welcome in our panel today. We've got John Miller from Locked On Mizzou. We've got Jimmy Stein, Locked On Bama. Corey Burton, Locked On Vandy. And Stephen Willis, Locked On Ole Miss. I'm Chris Gordy, host of Locked On SEC. And guys, we've got spring practice underway at almost all the SEC teams. We've got a few still getting started in about a week or so. But a lot of storylines coming out. We'll touch on maybe some of that a little bit later. But the big thing that was updated, FanDuel putting out their updated win totals. And so I thought this might be fun to kind of kick around and kind of dissect what the thought process is here with some of these. And we'll kind of take a look at it. We'll start with the upper echelon. Only two SEC teams in the 9.5 category. And I found that interesting because, you know, you could have made a case for Alabama. You could have made a case for Ole Miss, some of the other teams. But Georgia and Texas, the only ones they think 9.5 wins. And I wonder if this is almost a microcosm, guys, of going to a 9-game SEC schedule. It gets a little bit harder. But open it up. What do you guys think of just those two teams, Texas and Georgia, at 9.5 wins?
I think that's about right. That's brand, if you want to look at that, and if you're a conspiracy theory tinfoil hat person. And the thing that's interesting about me, with me on this, is it's 9.5 to 4.5. That's got to be the tightest range of wins and losses set up, or wins in the season in SEC history. I mean, Kentucky, Mississippi State, and Arkansas, they're not going to be good, but if they can win 4.5, 5 games, it's just the point that you just don't know what's going to happen. Anybody can beat anybody at this point.
Yeah, I think Georgia and Texas are – look, what analyst out there between now and August, what credible analyst isn't going to have both of them in their playoff projection? I mean, I just think Georgia and Texas will be in virtually everyone's playoff projection. What does that mean? Well, it means a lot. It means in terms of the perception of how good those teams can be, the perception from all of the logical, reasonable, rational analysts is they're going to be really good. We're saying the same thing about Penn State, Clemson, and LSU a year ago, and they spent more time firing coaches than planning for their playoff appearance. So no one knows for certain, of course. That's why it's fun. But Georgia and Texas are going to be in every playoff projection.
Yeah, especially Texas. I mean, they have a loaded up roster. Cam Coleman, Arch Manning had a really nice finish to the season. So, I mean, obviously they're going to be probably consensus favorites to win the SEC, despite Georgia sitting there as two-time defending conference champion. So it's interesting. I mean, it's not surprising by any stretch. But there are some numbers there that kind of surprised me a little bit. Like, Ole Miss being at 7.5, returning Trinidad Chambliss. I feel like that's an easy go. Alabama is very interesting, Jimmy, at 8.5. Like with the quarterback battle, the rest of the roster's loaded up, but not sure who's going to be the starting quarterback. So there's some intrigue there as far as that goes.
Yeah, to Corey's point, that 7.5 tier is interesting to me. I was surprised to see Oklahoma there and Ole Miss there, and also Florida going the other way. I'm going, that's more confidence in Florida than I have at this point. That would be an under for me. And really at this point of the season, and what I mean is 6 months from the first game, whatever we are, I'm basically looking at the quarterback and the coach. And, of course, Texas – we know what they have at quarterback and coach. It's a team that made the playoffs 2 years ago, a team that was playoff quality, let's just say right on the edge last season. The interesting thing about Georgia, I just said, hey, quarterback and coach. We know they have the coach. They're the one team that I don't really care who is the quarterback. I just think they have the infrastructure to be an absolute national competitor every single year, almost no matter who's taking the snaps.
Do you guys almost feel like, and we'll work our way down this and get to some of the other teams and win totals, but kind of sticking with Georgia and Texas, if you had to put a month's pay on it, would you bet both those teams going 10-2? I mean, does that seem like a safe bet, 10-2 or better for Georgia and Texas?
If they're truly elite, an elite team, a team that's definitely in the playoff is 10-2 in this league. And I would bet the over on both myself if forced to. I would go over, and I think they will finish 1-2 in the league. And I think they'll both win 10 games and be comfortably in the playoff. But again, Penn State, Clemson, and LSU from a year ago is a cautionary tale for everybody.
That's a March 19th guarantee there, guys. Go ahead.
A George Foreman guarantee. No. Penn State had a stellar quarterback coming back in Drew Aller that everybody felt good about.
Don't call him stellar, even sarcastically.
Stellar. Like everyone was raving about him like he was the next best thing. And we saw how that went. So it's going to be interesting for sure on Jimmy's point there with Georgia and Texas. But I agree with Jimmy. I would take the over on both of these teams. And the rest of the teams, I'm not sure exactly where I stand on the rest of the league just about. But with those two teams, I'm definitely taking the over there.
I think Georgia I'm really pounding simply because if you take a quick look at the schedule, this is Georgia's relatively easiest schedule I've seen for a while, especially for a 9-gamer. You'll all just have to – you can maybe disagree with me out there, but especially compared to Texas, which I think has a much harder schedule SEC-wise than it's had in recent years.
Finally, yeah. So.
Yeah, Texas having Oklahoma in the Cotton Bowl, that's always a toss-up game. You have a game at Texas A&M that's going to be weird. It's going to be juiced on rivalry day. And then they play Ole Miss. And that's going to be a massive game. I think Texas has a sneaky, really difficult draw this year.
Totally.
And Ohio State.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, Texas got lucky and they got to avoid Vanderbilt, so that's good.
Hey, you kid, but that's not. It may not be completely inaccurate the way Vanderbilt's playing this year. Everybody's acting like, hey, they're done without Diego Pavia.
Yeah,
I don't know about that, man. I think Clark Lee's got something there.
Yeah, they've built the roster. They're participating in NIL, and they have way more money than people know about because they don't have to tell anybody about it because they're private. But it's. The things are rolling up here in Nashville. So Jared Curtis is looking every bit of the part. It was day one of spring practice today. So
hold off on Vandy. We'll get to them in a little bit. I kind of want to stick with the top half of this. We did Georgia and Texas.
Thought we were in the top half.
Let's get to the next group of 8.5. We got Alabama, we got LSU with Texas A&M, and just three different teams with different expectations. Obviously, LSU goes all in on Lane Kiffin, all in on the number one portal class. I think expectations are kind of I almost say if they go over a 9-3, that's disappointing for what they're paying for Lane Kiffin, all that. Like I think expectation is 10-2 or better. It should be playoff for LSU. But I look at DeBoer in Alabama. Can he afford to go 8-4 or 9-3? Like I think that's a step backward from getting to the playoff or winning a playoff game. And then A&M, I think Mike Elko would get a little bit of a pass, right? If he goes 8-4, 7-5, I think most fans would go, all right, that sucks, but he got to the playoff last year, so I think he would almost get a pass, but I feel like DeBoer definitely doesn't get a pass, and I don't think Lane gets a pass if he misses the playoff. What do you guys think?
Out of all these, I feel like Alabama is the only team that I really feel good about hitting the over. I'm wary of LSU because I'm not sure exactly the health of Sam Leavitt and what he's dealing with, and all the new stuff that they have going on. And A&M is they're always an enigma. So I'm not real sure there. I don't feel confident one way or the other, but I feel like Alabama is set up to at least hit the over. I don't know much more beyond that, but that'll be interesting.
I think it's a good number for Alabama. I mean, in terms of, that's a good number in terms of getting a lot of 50-50. You're going to get juice on either side of that. But Alabama hasn't finished 8-4 or worse since 2007. So it would be, at this point, almost historically bad. But at the same time, there's 9 SEC games now. It's a tough schedule. They have a 4-game stretch in the middle of the season. It's just extraordinarily difficult. New quarterback, a lot of new coaches on offense, a lot of new faces in the lineup. I think anyone that picks Alabama to win 8 games or less isn't crazy at all. But I do think that 8.5 number is makes a lot of sense for Alabama.
And Chris, you mentioned expectations for LSU. Listen to this. They play Clemson to start off. They go at Ole Miss. They play Texas A&M, which they had trouble with a year ago. They still have games at Alabama or versus Alabama, versus Texas, and at Tennessee. 8.5 is going to be a struggle for LSU this year.
Brutal.
Yeah, I just look at it. You said they'd struggle with A&M last year. It's a different team and a different coaching staff. You know, I mean, that's what I think LSU. We don't know what they are. It's a whole new team. You know, it's like I was looking at their roster earlier. I'm like, the whole receiving core is different. Like everything's different. So again, like if I'm going, I give benefit of the doubt to Lane. I think Corey said we don't know what Sam Levitt is. Look, we didn't know what Trinidad Chambliss was last year, and he ended up playing and was awesome. So I think Lane and their track record of quarterback play, you give them the benefit of the doubt. But I'm kind of with you. Like you got to go prove it. We got to see it in action.
And Steve, didn't Lane struggle in year one at Ole Miss? Like,
yeah,
does he
went 5-5 in year one at Ole Miss, and he went 6-6 in year one at Tennessee. Now, different era because the transfer portal wasn't around, but it usually is a 2-year build for Lane Kiffin.
I don't judge anybody on COVID year, by the way. COVID years completely gets thrown out the window for everybody because Jimbo Fisher almost made the playoff in COVID year. So
if I'm going to be bold about that group 2, like I was bold about group 1, pretty. Go the over on both. Group 2, I think 2 of those 3 teams, 2 of those 3 will hit the over and make the playoff, and 1 will not. And I hope no one makes me choose which way it goes. I mean, that's the way I see those 3 teams. 2 make the playoff, 1 does not. 1 will be some level of a disappointment, and I'm not sure which one out of that group.
One thing about LSU, again, opening game against Clemson this year, it'll be at home at least. Of course, LSU won it last year. I think that was the first opener they had won since the famous 2019 Joe Burrow, Justin Jefferson season. They play a tough schedule every single year, and that opening game in particular is tough for LSU. Once again, though, you put yourself behind the 8 ball, you start off 0-1. I think that'll be a big one, especially when game 2 is at Ole Miss. Hello.
Yeah. Yeah. And then right after that is A&M. Like their September's brutal.
Yep.
It's just brutal.
I think, can we all agree? Like, I don't know. The vibe I get on Mike Elko is like he went over his head last year, and this year's going to be a comeback down to earth year. Do you guys feel that way at all?
What are they at on the line of scrimmage? It's my question. I don't know that roster, that team, but where is A&M at the line of scrimmage? Last year they were extremely good up front on both sides. This year I don't believe they'll be as good up front. That can have some negative ramifications there for somebody like Marcel Reed, who I think needs to take another step forward. Might be tougher with a lesser offensive line.
And also, Colin
Wilkin Formby, right?
Yeah,
Wilkin Formby. You know him well, Jimmy.
Yeah, Colin Klein is.
Well, they didn't fight. They didn't fight to keep him at the money A&M was offering. We'll just say that they didn't fight to keep him at that money that A&M was offering.
And it's a couple of LSU guys, Tyree Adams and Cohen Eccles. Their O-line stunk last year. Trevon Ball from South Carolina. So, yeah, it's an amalgamation of SEC experience, but they're going to have to coach those guys up and get the best out of them because it's a lot of guys that I always judge this guy's on portal. When a guy leaves your SEC school to go to another SEC school and your attitude is good riddance, means you didn't if the fan base is going, good, we don't care that he left. It kind of tells you what you need to know about that player. But
yeah, but also the fan base usually has they don't care that they left. They always do that because the same thing I heard from Florida fans,
the rational fans,
Princely and Mommy Ellen. We let him go. He's nobody. Right. And it's like, no, that's not the way that worked. Yeah. But yeah, you have to be careful with that. But if the consensus is that, I agree with you.
In all seriousness, listen to us. That's not even me being a company guy. From my experience, I'm not even kidding. If there's a portal guy who comes from one of our schools, I'll immediately reach out to somebody, whether I know them or not, by the way. They could be in another conference, a guy I've never met. They always give me good advice and good takes.
Even more reason to join our Everydayer Club. LockedOnPodcast.com/everydayer. Become an everydayer. Use our code March. You get a free month. Try it out for free. March. Use the code March and get be part of our Everydayer Club. All right, we'll return, guys. Over half the conference is slated to be 7.5 or 6.5 wins in FanDuel. So we will get to the middle of the conference when we return right here. Squad talking more ball next. Hey, but first, welcome to our 5-hour energy flavor draft. 18 different flavors to choose from, including some new options like Confetti Craze, Fruity Rainbow, Cotton Candy. There's something for everyone. The board is set. The flavors are ready. I've got my number one pick for the 5-hour energy flavored draft. Steven, give me your flavor. What's your go-to?
Listen, I'm going to go with grape. I know Chris Marler is going to ridicule that like crazy, but I know with grape that no matter which convenience store, which drugstore, or which grocery store I go into, I can get a great 5-hour energy.
It's the classic. You can't go wrong with the classic. Corey, where are you going?
Well, Zach had the confetti craze the other day, and that he sold me on that, so I'm intrigued by that flavor for sure.
John Miller, where are you going?
Watermelon, no doubt.
Jimmy?
Fruity Rainbow, Skittle 5-hour energy tasting. That's just Fruity Rainbow.
I think that's right. I was thinking, I saw the Fruity Rainbow in the store the other day. I was waiting to pay for my gas, and I should have grabbed it because I need to try it. Anyway, there's underrated flavors. There's your number one go-to pick, whatever it is. Find your new favorite flavor of 5-hour energy shots available online at 5hourenergy.com or at Amazon. And as we always say, 5-hour energy shots give you a boost with zero sugar. Check them out, 5hourenergy.com.
No grape extreme for you, Jimmy?
That's
All right,
harsh. That's harsh. I think Holloway was caught with a lot of that.
We jump back into it, fellas, and over half the conference is sitting either in the 7.5 or 6.5 win total, according to FanDuel. Again, this is March numbers, but let's start with that 7.5 group. I was kind of surprised. Some optimism on John Summerall and the Florida Gators getting some love at 7.5. Oklahoma, what a big step back with John Mateer back and all those pieces. They were a playoff team last year. They put them at 7.5. Ole Miss, the same thing, a playoff team a year ago, and now put them at 7.5. And Tennessee, kind of that team of, okay, one step forward, one step back. What's going to happen with the quarterback? But what do you guys make of that group, 7.5 wins?
Yeah, Ole Miss definitely the shining star of that group. It's free money. That's what I think. Oklahoma is interesting. Yes. Florida, I'm not a big believer in Florida hitting the over on 7.5. I think at best they're going to win 7 this year. It's just there's just too many new pieces there with John Summerall. But yeah, Tennessee, they were at 6.5 and they got bumped up, I guess, because their name is Tennessee. But Ole Miss is definitely the one I would take the over 100% in that group. Oklahoma would be the next one, and then Florida and Tennessee. It's a freaking dice roll.
Such a step back for Oklahoma and Ole Miss, based on last season. So it's a little surprising to see them there. Much like I said about that second group where I said 2 of the 3 would make the playoff and 1 will be a little disappointing. With this group, I would be inclined out of those 4 teams. I mean, keep in mind what FanDuel's telling us here is there's a 50-50 chance those teams will finish 7-5. But what I'm going to say is one of those 4 teams, most likely Ole Miss or Oklahoma. I think one of the 4 wins more like 9 or 10 games and makes the playoff. But I'm only willing to say that only one of those 4 will. I'm with the doubters on Florida. They're going to have to show me wins with the new coach and the quarterback situation. And I have a hard time. But I think one of those 4 even makes the playoff, even though the FanDuel betting odds say 50-50 on 7-5.
I actually like that FanDuel, I shouldn't say liked, but I just think it's the right move to move Tennessee from 6.5 to 7.5. I think that's the right number for the Vols. I really do, even though the Aguilar situation probably knocked it down a win. I think 7.5 is really where Tennessee should be. And I'm with everybody so far. I thought this was my hot take, but no, I'm just going to agree with all of you. Florida at 7.5 is too high. Not only do you have a new coach, I think the quarterback situation to me is not obviously strong either at this point. We'll see what happens in September, but right now I don't know how you could bet over on Florida.
Well, do you put anything into account? They have a playoff coach, a guy who was just coaching in the playoff at Tulane of all places. Now he's got the resources at Florida.
I just think year one it's tough. Yeah. I mean, maybe he'll completely prove me wrong and will crush it there, but I just think that's a tough one. And Florida's a tougher place to navigate than I think a lot of people realize.
Yeah, I think
Oklahoma's got Mateer and Ole Miss has Chambliss. It's kind of hard for me to put Florida and Tennessee there for that reason alone.
Exactly.
They just Oklahoma and Ole Miss have a quarterback.
The one thing that we're not thinking of is John Summerall didn't go to Italy because he had stuff to do, and all of that work that he's going to put in, that's obviously worth 2 more wins.
Let me ask you guys this, because this is an interesting test, because again, Pete Goldie's got a lot of love with how he handled the playoff run and all that, but I remind people, a year ago, it's not like his name was at the top of a bunch of lists of, let's hire him. If you had to pick one right now, like if we were ranking coaches, would you have Pete Golding higher or John Summerall higher?
Pete Golding. By country mile. The reason his name wasn't out there is he didn't put it out there because the reason he's at Ole Miss is family related, not professional related. He went there because of his wife. So he wasn't looking to leave. And he made himself available for the Ole Miss job when it came available because he didn't want to leave. That's the deal about Pete Golding and what went on there, and that's the reason you didn't hear his name.
I do agree what he's being asked is so different than a year ago because obviously very impressive with what he did a year ago, taking over for Lane Kiffin in that spot. This ask, which is build an entire football team basically or a starting lineup to some extent from scratch. And I don't mean that they don't have returning starters who are good players. I just mean everyone in the league has such incredible roster turnover now year to year. What Pete is being asked to do this year is radically different than a year ago. And I think it's fair for people to ask, hey, what kind of head coach is Pete Golding? I don't think the playoff run has been a 100% proving ground. It was certainly interesting and early returns are impressive, but this is more of a real look at what Ole Miss will look like going forward.
I will say this about Pete. When Pete Golding came to Ole Miss, he immediately looked at the recruiting situation and the player personnel department that was put together there and said, this is crap. And he went and built the exact same thing that Nick Saban had at Alabama, exactly to the T, to where staff and everything happened. And that is when the transfer portal, the portal king started happening because there were 10 people looking out and scouting what was going on and that system coming over. So Pete has kind of built a team. He doesn't get the credit for it, but he did have his fingerprints all over it.
Yeah, I just think it's interesting. He seems like a really smart, capable guy. I just think, man, the head job is really it's something different. And I was a person who said, hey, for an interim to end the season, I thought Golding was a great option in the wake of the whole Lane Kiffin departure and the playoff. I just want to see it. I'm not saying he can't do it. I do just want to see it. And I think that's probably the reflection there of the number being a little bit lower than we think. It probably is mostly about the coach because
it's not about Trinidad.
It's not about Trinidad. He's going to start next year.
Or Keywan. It's amazing that Keywan Lacey is getting forgotten because of Trinidad. It's amazing.
It's just a fun exercise, because John Summerall's got the skins on the wall. He won at Troy. He won at Tulane. He's been this up-and-comer. But, now he's at the SEC. Prove it to me there, whereas Pete Golding, first-time head coach. So it's just kind of going to be fun in this offseason of ranking head coaches where you evaluate those two guys and where you put them. So when we return, guys, we will get to the 6.5 club, and this is the do or die. This is bowling or not. Hot seat, might be fired. We're going to get to all that coming your way next. Squad talking more ball coming your way after this. Hey, first, guys, it is tax time, but for a lot of us, the old way of doing taxes is a lot. Trying to book an appointment that's not the most convenient, sitting in a waiting room with a stack of papers, emailing back and forth, or wondering if they really get your situation. But this year, you're getting a major upgrade. Intuit TurboTax now has in-person locations nationwide. You can meet face-to-face with a real tax expert, get your documents uploaded straight to your TurboTax app on the spot, and just like that, you're done. Your TurboTax expert works to get you every dollar you deserve while you get real-time notifications as you go about your day. It's the relief of walking in and meeting a real person and walking out knowing your taxes are being handled right. Head to turbotax.com/local to find a store near you and book your appointment today. And, guys, it is that time of year, biggest stretch of the college basketball season, the buzzer beaters, bracket busters, unforgettable moments everybody's talking about the next day. Would you like to be live in person for something like that? We've got some great cities hosting from Oklahoma City to Tampa and all the in-between bucket list stuff. But the hardest part is getting tickets. And our friends at the Game Time app, they're going to give the advantage back to you, the fans, with constant innovation. It's how you unlock amazing tickets and experiences in just a few taps. It's incredibly simple to use. The Game Time guarantee means 100% legitimate tickets delivered on time at the best price. And the best part, fees are included in the price. What you see is what you get, period. I love the seat view feature. It's a game changer. You can see a panoramic view from your seat before you buy. No stress, no guesswork, just a smooth experience from start to finish. That's exactly what you want during this busiest part of the season. Take the guesswork out of buying college basketball tickets at Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, Use our code Locked On. That'll get you $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code Locked On for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. All right, fellas, one more segment to go here. Wanted to jump back into it as we are discussing our FanDuel win totals for next season. Again, these are updated as of this past week. And let's get to the 6.5 club. You got Auburn with a new coach in Alex Golesh. You got Mizzou with Eli Drinkwitz, who's been there a while. You've got South Carolina. That's got Shane Beamer, who's been there a while. And you got Clark Lee coming off the most historic season for Vanderbilt. Then you expect them to take a step back, but all the way down to 6.5. What do you make of this group?
I think it's interesting. If I'm not mistaken, and I could be completely wrong, but Auburn hasn't won more than 6 games since COVID. And you're telling me this year in a first-year coach, they're going to win 6.5. I don't know if that is. I think 6 might be their ceiling, but that's an underplay at this point.
So actually, I totally disagree with you. Auburn is the one team on this entire list that I like as an over, simply because, I'm sorry, I get somebody who's not playing golf 4 times a week. Sounds great to me. Do we think Hugh Freeze was a good coach? Because I don't know. Steven, you're much more familiar with Hugh Freeze's game than I am, to steal a phrase from Shaquille O'Neal. But to me, that's a coaching upgrade. And not only that, he's bringing his old quarterback with him. You make a good point that Auburn's recent history isn't great. To me, I like Auburn to go over.
You know,
it should be interesting, but 17 players coming from the G5 level, they might be talented, they might be consistent, but they lost the Cam Coleman's on that side on the ball. You know, it's interesting to me.
I have a hard time imagining now it's going to happen, but I have a hard time imagining any of those 4 beating any of the teams ahead of them on FanDuel's list. The what's that? 9 teams ahead of them. I have a hard time imagining this fall any of those 4 beating any of those 9. But at the same time, I would tell you, I think that group is the reason the SEC is such a great league, because all 4 of those teams are dangerous. They're dangerous. You don't want to play Vandy in Nashville or Missouri in Como, or even this Auburn team with Byron Brown at quarterback. And South Carolina may have the number 1 pick in the draft on defense, and who knows where the quarterback will go. I mean, these are dangerous football teams. Are they a threat to win the league? Not even close. But this is why the SEC is so good and tough, because these teams who will be fortunate to finish 500, they're dangerous.
I do think one of those teams, I agree with you that none of those 4 teams are an actual threat to win the league as we sit here. I do think with Missouri, with Austin Simmons, I do think with South Carolina, with Lenora Sellers, I think there's a lot of potential for some pretty high variance there with all 4 of those teams. But I will say, and again, to the point of high variance, it can go either way, because Missouri not only has a new quarterback, they have a ton of guys to replace on defense as starters as well. So if it would have been anything other than 6.5 for Missouri, I would have been surprised.
Yeah, I mean, I think – go ahead, Steve. I was going to say, and for Vanderbilt, you know, with Jared Curtis being the freshman quarterback, and you're not sure what he's going to bring to the table, like that issue, you know, that gives people a lot of pause as far as, okay, we don't want to rate them too high. But one of the things you notice about Vanderbilt is, and I've said this, you know, all along, all this month, is their floor has raised significantly. And that's goal number 1 for them to
They're out the basement.
Yeah, they're out of the basement. Their floor is now sitting at about 6.5, whereas last year they were 4.5, and the year before that they were 2.5. So, I mean, it's getting better. The roster is turning over at a lot better rate. They're building more depth. They just got to get the quarterback situation figured out. They could be a dangerous team, but you just don't know. That's why they're sitting at 6.5. But like Tennessee's got to come to Nashville, so you know that's going to be tricky. And Auburn opens up. Well, Vandy opens up their SEC play with Auburn. Auburn opens up with Florida, but it's you know, there's a lot of variance in there, and you know, I like Vanderbilt to hit the over. I think 7 is a good number for them. I think if they were sitting at 7.5, I would pick the under. I think 7 wins is about right for this Vanderbilt team. They're gonna pick somebody off somewhere down the road. So it's just going to be interesting. These 4 teams are very, very intriguing. I like South Carolina a lot. I like Missouri a lot with Austin Simmons. And, of course, Auburn is they're tricky. You don't know what they got. New coach. I just think there's going to be a little bit of struggle there in year one, but they're going to be dangerous moving forward.
What's interesting, guys, is with Auburn, if they go 6-6, that's their most wins in 3 years. To Steven's point, it's been it was 9-4 in 2019. Since then, it was 6-5, 6-7, 5-7, 6-7, 5-7, 5-7. So that would be a dramatic improvement. I feel like if Mizzou goes 6-6, we're going, wait, isn't Eli Drinkwitz the top 10 highest paid head coach in college football now? Like, he needs to be doing a little bit better than that. Look.
It's been a while since Missouri hasn't done better than that, too.
Yeah.
Not since 2022, so.
Shane Beamer can't go backwards. If he goes 5-7, I think he's fired. So
no, he should be, because I do think South Carolina is the best team in that group. They're going to win 8 games this year.
Yeah.
Wow.
And and Kendall Briles is a great hire.
Yes.
There. And lastly on Vandy, I mean, look, 6-6. If they go 6-6 and Jared Curtis has ups and downs of a true freshman, I don't think anybody's crucifying Clark Lee over that. We're going, hey, they're building for the future, and the future looks bright for Vanderbilt, even if they have a down year this year. Last group, guys, the 4.5 win club. And you got to give me, are you going over under on these? Arkansas, Kentucky, Mississippi State. Obviously, Ryan Silverfield's got a big task at hand at Arkansas, replacing that roster. Kentucky and Will Stein killed it in the portal. And he's a good offensive mind, good young coach. And then Jeff Lebby, it's kind of put up or shut up time for him. This is year 3 in Starkville. I know they've had a lot of turnover, but you got to start building forward. I mean, 6 wins or better, I think, it has to be the goal in Starkville this year.
I don't see terrible football teams there. I don't think any of them will be terrible, but I do think that they're going to have a difficult time winning SEC football games, especially away from home.
Did you know that Arkansas doesn't have clocks in their facility? I mean, that right there.
Well,
again, worth 2 wins.
I was going to say, knocking up to 6.5.
Yeah, seriously, you can count on that. I think Mississippi State's going to look like Ole Miss did in 2022. They tried to revamp their offensive line. The reason being is Kamario Taylor is an elite runner, like really, really good, but he is not a good passer of the football. So you don't want to be in that situation. So I'm curious about Mississippi State, if their defense can get a little bit better. Zach Arnett coming back, taking over that defense, it would be interesting. I like Kentucky because of the transfer portal, and Arkansas, no clocks. I mean, come on.
Casinos don't have clocks, and most everyone loses.
Yeah.
Great point. Hey, I just want to say, I think most of us like what Kentucky did this offseason. My instinct was to go over on Kentucky, and that was when it was 5.5. But then I looked at the schedule, and now I understand why it went down to 4.5, because you look at Kentucky's schedule, they play Youngstown State, and they play, South Alabama. And then their third non-conference game is against Louisville. So other than those 2 games, you really don't have a lot of automatic victories there. That's a pretty brutal schedule SEC-wise. They got the short end of the stick on the schedule. So even if Kentucky's quite a bit improved, man, it's just tough to get as bullish on them as I want to with that schedule.
Well, also, he's a rookie head coach, too.
Yes.
So, there's that factor involved. They could be as talented as they want to, but, as a rookie head coach,
we just don't know.
You don't know. Yeah, you don't know your rear end from a bag of sand. It's your head's spinning for the whole season, and you're trying to figure things out logistically and practice wise and travel rosters and everything as a head coach that before you even step on the field, you're trying to figure out. And for Will Stein, like a lot of rookie head coaches, it's going to be a struggle.
Is it fair to say, though, offense should be better with the offensive mind that he's coming over from Oregon, and Mark Stoops, was running these archaic offenses?
I think so. I think you're going to see an uptick in offensive production, but I think the whole operation is going to struggle in year 1. Now, typically year 2, they get their stuff together and they can do some things, but year 1, you're going to see some flashes, but ultimately I think it's going to be a struggle as of right now.
I will tell you this. I did a podcast last week that somebody made a parallel on Kenny Minchie to Joe Burrow. I'll just leave that out there. So if you want to buy into that hype in Kentucky, jump on it.
They're the same height or what?
Now, was it a bourbon distiller that made that comparison?
Are they both from Ohio? Is that where we're looking at?
I'll just tell you guys right now, they're guys, I have no idea what we're going to get. I don't know what the hell Kenny Minchie's going to be. I don't know what Byron Brown's going to be in a full season in the SEC. Like, there's just ones that I don't know what Austin Simmons is going to be at Mizzou. He could be awesome. He could be average. We just don't know. So there's a lot of unknowns this year, and that's what makes those win totals so much fun.
Yeah, and we are officially in routes on air season to where people are just like, oh, look at this guy throwing the football. He threw a 5-yard out against air.
I'm telling you guys right now, I'm looking at my Twitter trending right now. One of the stories is Tennessee freshman quarterback Faison Brandon shines in fall spring practice. It is.
I see Alabama fans already making fun of literally one throw that Byron Brown has made. It's like, oh my God, look at that hitch in his delivery. I'm like, it's one throw, guys. I don't know.
Yeah.
The same thing on the other side. If there's a problem with this game, it's like, see, this quarterback can throw the football.
Right.
And it's like, come on.
I saw somebody said, Grok, how many yards did he throw for? I mean, it is what it is. But hey, guys.
Hey, Jimmy. Thank you for Cole Adams, dude. Yeah, I saw the most filthy whip route that he broke a cornerback's ankles. That is a good player that you can get.
Cole Adams is a good football player. No one in Tuscaloosa was excited. To Gordy's point earlier, no one in Tuscaloosa was excited to see Cole Adams leave. Was he going to be one of Alabama's top 2 receivers? No, but no one was excited to see him go.
Well, remember to follow and subscribe to your favorite SEC show. Corey needs to remember to take those cough drops and get healthy here.
Dude, it started snowing here Monday, and I came from Naples where it was like 90 degrees, and now it's 30 degrees, and my allergies just cannot handle it. It's
SEC country right now. It's shorts to sweaters day by day. But, hey, remember to follow and subscribe to your favorite SEC show. We'll be covering your favorite teams throughout the offseason. Don't forget, I'll have you covered with Locked On SEC, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, covering your team every day. And like we've been telling you, if you want to become an everydayer, go to lockedonpodcast.com/everydayer and get signed up today. For Steven, Corey, who else we have? John, Jimmy, I'm Chris. We'll talk to you guys next week on The Squad Show.
Peace.